How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to On The Ball. Welcome back to another round of Premier League predictions as it's getting tight now. 216 to myself, 208 to Sim. And you know by now the way the scoring works. It's 5 points for a complete correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result. And the star man, once you pick that man, you can't pick them again for the rest of the season. 5 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist. Let's get into the weekend's action, starting off at the City Ground. Nottingham Forest against Brighton. Really interesting matchup, actually, this one. Sim's gone for 2-0 to Forest. I've gone for 2-1 to Forest. Sim seems to be Nottingham Forest bad luck charm at the moment.
Yeah, so unfortunately, if I predict a win, it looks like you're probably going to drop points. But because I'm predicting losses every single week, and you seem to be absolutely smashing it. But I think Brighton do tend to struggle against these kind of teams, low block teams, counter-attacking teams. That's why I think they've struggled against the lower teams, I think, a lot of the season. And I think Forest, obviously, I know they had a very, very bad result against Bournemouth last time, and they'll want to rectify that immediately. And I think at home, in front of the home crowd, against a Brighton team who just seem at the moment... I know their form's turned around a bit since they're winless. I think they were winless in 8, but up front they just haven't seemed to find the balance right at the moment. And I think Forest will take advantage of it. And I think as well they'll struggle. I think Forest can keep a clean sheet here, so I'm for 2-0.
Yeah, I went for 2-1. I feel like Brighton can find a goal. They seem to, they find the back of the net with regularity. And both these teams actually were in really good form and came crashing down on the weekends. Nottingham Forest at the hands to Bournemouth and Brighton at the hands to Everton. And I feel like, I do feel like Brighton can get on the, can break that kind of Forest backline, but I feel Nottingham Forest will be way too strong at home and they'll keep it tight. They'll keep them out for the most part. And they've got the quality at the other end to provide that counter-attacking threat. So I've gone for 2-1 to Nottingham Forest. Next up is high-flying Bournemouth against even higher-flying Liverpool. Sim's gone for 2-2. I've gone for 3-2 to Liverpool. I do feel like this is where it's going to end for Bournemouth in terms of their really good run on the back of 2 sensational results against Newcastle, 4-1 away there and 5-0 at home to Nottingham Forest. They seem to be battering away all the kind of on-form teams, but I think they'll meet their match here in Liverpool. And I think it'll be a really close game, really exciting game, end-to-end game. But I think maybe the injuries might just catch up with Bournemouth, and Liverpool, with the quality that they have, will win the game. Yeah,
I think it's going to be a really entertaining game. We've seen Bournemouth bloody the noses of the big boys when they've come to town, beating Arsenal, beating Man City at home. So I think that you can't take anything for granted for Liverpool here in this game. And I know they've got injuries, but they've had a week's rest. I know Liverpool went in midweek with a very rested team. Only the likes of, I think, Gakpo, Robertson were kind of main players. But I think going away to Bournemouth in this tight-knit pitch and the momentum they have, I can see Bournemouth really putting on a show here. So I think Liverpool won't lose, and I think it'll be one of those games where if Liverpool miss a few chances and kind of Bournemouth might just be happy to come away with a point, but I think they will come away with a point. I went for a 2-2 draw here.
Everton against Leicester up next. Both of us gone for the exact same score now here in 2-0. These are, I think, the 2 latest teams to change their managers. David Moyes off to a really good start with Everton so far. Ruud van Nistelrooy, after 7 straight defeats, got his first win since his first game in charge. And look, I feel it'll be back to usual for Ruud van Nistelrooy, back to losing ways. And I think Moyes, I've been impressed with the start he's had, and I think it's going to be 2-0 to Everton.
Yeah, I think they're playing well, and obviously I know Calvert-Lewin, and I think Mangala's picked up a serious injury as well, so that's really a big blow for Everton. But with the form in Dies in, you got Beto coming in, you got the Moyes factor where he seems to have added that little bit of energy and spark into their play at the moment, which you sometimes get with the new manager. And as much as Leicester did well to get a win at Spurs, I mean, I know they won, but I wasn't overly impressed with them even with the win. They just pretty much had a 5-minute spell, scored a couple of goals, and that's pretty much all they did, to be honest. So I don't think off the back of that result it's going to change much for me. I don't think much changed in that spot, as the only difference was they came up against a very tired and out of form Tottenham team. So I think it's going to be more of the same from before the Spurs game here for Leicester. So 2-0.
Ipswich against Southampton up next. A massive game down at the bottom. Ipswich, I've gone for 3-2 to Ipswich. Sim's gone for 2-1.
Yeah, I think Ipswich must win here. If they don't win this game, I think, thoughts of safety will start. They'll start to ask serious questions of themselves, because Southampton be losing every single game for a while now, and Ipswich had a couple of games where it looked like they were turning around their fortunes, but in the last couple of games they've lost 6-0 to City and 4-1 to Liverpool. So they need to stop the rot. It's a home game against a side who statistically currently on course to become the worst ever Premier League team. I know Southampton probably performance-wise haven't been too bad in the last few weeks, but Ipswich can't let that affect them, and if they got any hopes of staying up, I think 3 points is a must here. So I think they will get it 2-1 to Ipswich.
Yeah, I actually see this being a really exciting game of football. Southampton, when I've watched them play over the last couple of weeks, a really exciting team to watch, and they definitely know how to score. You know, they scored a goal against Newcastle last week, 2 against Nottingham Forest the week before, and 1 against Manchester United the week before. So, you know, they really can find the back of the net against anyone. But I think Ipswich, they just know by hook or by crook they have to win. I think Southampton, you could probably safely say they're probably down already. I don't think there's any hope for safety for them. But Ipswich have got to turn it around and got to turn it around quick, and this is the perfect game for them to do it in a completely open Southampton side, and I think the likes of Liam Delap will reap the benefits of that. So I've gone for 3-2 to Ipswich. Next up is Newcastle against Fulham. Sim's gone for 1-1. I've gone for 3-1 to Newcastle. I do see this being a bit of a tight game in the opening exchanges, maybe for the opening hour, but I feel like the quality will end up shining through with the likes of Gordon and Isaac and, you know, all the talent that Newcastle have going forward, albeit I do think Fulham have been a very good side this season, but I just feel like going to St James's Park, their last time at St James's Park they got battered, so I feel like they want to put on a show for their home fans. Yeah,
I think Fulham have been quite good at like adjusting when they're playing better sides this season, and I think they usually go into these games with a certain like element of pragmatism, and I think it's worked for Marco Silva, and I think Newcastle, they're in great form. I think it's 5 wins in 6 or 6 and 7. But I thought in the last 2 games they lost 4-1 to Bournemouth, and they beat Southampton, but I didn't think they were overly impressive in that game. So I think Fulham coming here will try and just their best to stop Isaac and Gordon having too much of influence, and I can see them getting a goal here. So they're not being in the best form, but I see a draw in this one, so 1-1.
Yeah, I feel like Fulham have only got 2 wins since the start of December.
But still a few draws.
Yeah, a lot of draws in there. They're kind of like the draw specialists at the moment, Fulham. But let's go to Wolves against Aston Villa. Sim's gone for 3-1 to Villa here.
Yeah, why are you sound surprised?
I feel that's a big surprise, actually, only because that Villa, the stat reader, I don't think they've won once since, playing European the week before. And they did have quite a taxing game in midweek. That's why I've gone for the draw. And I feel like Wolves are a team that can stifle a team like Villa. That's why I went for 1-1.
Fair play. I'm looking at Wolves at the moment, and as much as there was an initial burst when the new manager came in, they're now 4 losses on the trot. I thought last week, who did they play? Because I thought, if I remember right, they played quite
Arsenal.
well. Against Arsenal. So they were unlucky in that game, to be fair, against Arsenal. They could have gotten something out of it, but again, the red card probably helped them out a lot. But when it was 10 versus 11, they should have really taken the lead and maybe won the game. They didn't. They let it go to 10v10 and ended up losing. They're going to be obviously without João Gomez in this game, who's obviously going to be a big player. It's going to be interesting to see how Villa react to no John Duran, who's obviously on the way to Saudi. Well, it looks like Ollie Watkins will be
90
leading
million.
I think 90 million euros, isn't it?
So, yeah, 90 million euros, all with all the add-ons included.
Massive Saudi, isn't it? Massive Saudi business. 21-year-old striker.
It's madness.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's there for like 2 or 3 years and comes back to Europe at some point, because he's still a quality player and he's had a brilliant season, in terms of his development. Got unbelievable left foot, but they're going to be without him. It'll be interesting to see what kind of business they do, to kind of by before the end of the window to try and replace him. But I do think Villa, I know that they'll obviously be delighted they got over the line in the Champions League, got into that top 8, and I just don't think Wolves will be good enough to hold them out, so I've gone for a 3-1 win to Villa.
All right, next up is at the G-Tech, Brentford against Tottenham. Sim's gone for 3-2 to Brentford.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Spurs still suffering majorly from this injury crisis. We've got a game, the time recording, it's Thursday, we've got a game today, so we have to see what kind of players will come through that game as well. I know Tottenham are getting players back, and there's also talks of some signings, but in terms of having a massive effect for Sunday, with also put into that Brentford's great home record, I just struggled to see Tottenham getting a result in this game, and could make it a bit hairy if if that happens. But I think Brentford, they've given all the big teams a good game. Last time, I think at home to City, brilliant. They were brilliant. They got a 2-2 draw. Although their home form has dropped off after initial incredible home form. It's not that maybe in the same element of where it was, but
they've had very hard home fixtures though.
Yeah. And that was always going to happen when you play the bottom 10 first. So I do think Spurs will still come unstuck here, unfortunately. But let's hope after this game, the tide will start to turn.
Yeah, the thing is with this game, I can really see with the way Spurs play, the likes of Mbeumo and Wissa getting all sorts of joy down the other end of the pitch. And I feel like Spurs could have an initial bounce, maybe score a goal early. But I think the fitness will tell. And they're a very energetic front pairing, those two, in terms of Wissa and Mbeumo. And I feel like Spurs are just going to go and suffer from fatigue as the game wears on. And yeah, I feel like Brentford will be the beneficiaries of that and win the game by 3-1. Next up is Manchester United against Crystal Palace. None of us think there's going to be a lot of goals in this. Sim's gone for 0-0.
Yeah.
I've gone for 1-0 to Palace. I just feel like Palace will have enough defensively to hold off this blunt Manchester United attack. You know, it's essentially like if you keep Amad Diallo quiet, you keep their whole attack quiet, and I think they'll do that, and Glasner will know that, and I think they'll have quality down the other end, whether it's a set piece, a counter-attack, or something like that. But I thought Palace can get a goal in this one, and they want to get back to winning ways after a disappointing result last time out against Brentford. So I've gone for 1-0 Palace.
Yeah, I went for 0-0. I think it's going to be quite a tight game. I saw against Fulham, Man United were kind of playing extremely pragmatically, I felt. They didn't really create anything from open play and were relying on set pieces. And I thought they did defend quite well. And obviously they got that late goal, bit of luck with the deflection, but they end up winning the game 1-0. I don't feel like they'll get that luck in this game. I feel like Palace as well are very resolute, and I can see Palace cause them trouble, but I got a feeling Palace might also get a bit frustrated because United, I thought, did defend well in their last game, so maybe when you add that in, I think Palace might not have the quality to get past them. So I think I've gone for a 0-0 draw here.
The big one is Arsenal against Manchester City. Sim's gone for 2-1 to Arsenal.
Yeah, set pieces. I think we saw
set piece again, ole ole.
Yeah, we saw how City struggled against them set pieces at the Etihad. I know Saka's not playing, but they still got Rice there, and they look, as much as they're struggling with the injuries, Arsenal, they still got a very solid defence, and that is the reality. And City, as much as they have definitely been improving over the last few weeks, Foden's starting to come into form. We're seeing Haaland starting to get goals again. I still see them having vulnerabilities at the back there, and I think if Arsenal do get in the lead, do I back City to come back from it? I kind of don't, to be honest, right now. And I do think City will score. I think Foden will show a bit of magic, but I do think the set pieces could make the difference here, and I've gone for a 2-1 win to Arsenal.
Yeah, you know what? I think Man City are going to take away a point here. I'm not convinced with the way Arsenal are playing. I think as well, when you talk about their defence, yes, they've got a very good defence, but they are leaking a few goals here and there. You know, you look at that Aston Villa game just before the Wolves game, and I thought defensive play from Arsenal was absolutely horrific. And I'm looking at this Man City side, and I think with the additions of Omar Mamouche, I think could add something extra for Man City. I was really impressed with his first game, and with a game behind him, I expect him to have more of an impact, and I think he'll get a goal or an assist or something. And I think it'll be a really interesting game, end-to-end football. And I don't think either side will take away the 3 points. So I've gone for 2-2. And last but not least is Monday Night Football at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea against West Ham. Sim's gone 3-1 Chelsea. I've gone 2-1 Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea have just not been convincing by any stretch of the imagination. And look, I think they'll get over the line by hook just about. But I'm not impressed with either of these teams at the moment. But I'm just going to bank on the home team and the team with a bit more quality in it.
Yeah, I think so. And I know Chelsea haven't been in best form. 1 win in 6 for them. Disappointing against Man City, especially after taking the lead. But I think with Man City, West Ham still kind of feeling their way into Graham Potter's tenure, not having quite the control of the quality just yet in the attacking scenarios. I think Chelsea will take advantage of it because I think they'll still be a bit open with Potter implementing that new style of play. So I've gone for a 3-1 win to Chelsea.
So we got a bit of a sticky situation here for Star Man.
Yes, we did.
So Star Man, we've both picked Ilman Ndiaye. So we need to go over to Sam and see who sent in the Star Man first.
It was Ben.
It was me. So Sim's got a on-the-spot decision to make.
I'll go with Beto.
Beto. All right. Sim's going for Beto. I've gone for Ilman Ndiaye. We'll see what happens. That is Predict the Prem for this week. Let us know your predictions in the comments section below. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We'll see you next time.